So I just, thank everyone for being here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been dying to get up here because I'd really like to talk and tell quite a story to people. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my race experience. So I had been training pretty well for the race to do the half marathon. And that probably a few weeks ahead of time, I was able to convince my son Isaac to run the race with me, and we were excited to just have an opportunity to just talk. You know, he's going to be leaving for 2 years to Mexico City to serve a mission, and so I just wanted some daddy-son time to be able to, go over life and answer any of his questions. So we prepared for it. We got out there. We were running. Had a very enjoyable time. Took pictures about 6-7 miles in. Feeling good. Keeping a 10-minute pace, and then took a little rest around 8 miles, and then started jogging again. And about half a mile further in, I just felt like I was going to pass out. And I'd actually passed out a few times on the treadmill in the previous 18 months. I'd had an appropriate workup, and nothing was ever found. They told me just to be careful and listen to your body. And so that's what I was doing, and I told Isaac, I said, hey, give me a second, And I got down on my knees, and then I blacked out at that time. I woke up maybe a minute later or so, and I remember seeing my glasses bent, and I was upset about that. And then I was trying to bend them back, and then I went out again. In the next little part, I got details from other people, but apparently I started turning purple and making all kinds of weird sounds. And my son and some of my friends, my new friends, best friends, they identified me to have a cardiac arrest. Okay, so I died right there. And then they started CPR, and my son Isaac had actually just learned CPR 1 week before when he was doing his lifeguard training. Just a little bit of backstory on that one is when he first said he was going to do it, my wife and I were actually discouraging him to do it because we thought it was too much to take on before leaving on this 2-year mission. But I got an impression one morning that I needed to encourage him to do CPR training, or rather to do lifeguard training, because he might need it someday. But I had no idea it would be for me. But there he was. He kept his head in the game, and he did high-quality CPR, along with some of my friends over here. And then the EMTs were able to get there, and they had to shock me back twice there, and then I ended up coming to the hospital. And I was awake for different parts of this, but ultimately ended up getting shocked back 7 times. So I died 7 times altogether. Then very tired and everything after that, and I had quite a little bit of a hospital stay for a few days, and then I was able to recover, go home and recover. And so the things that contributed to this, I'm going to talk about people first, okay, and then we'll talk about the Lord. But I wanted to thank people for knowing what to do, right? And thank them for actually doing it. Right? For those of you who don't know, only 10% of people who have a cardiac arrest outside of the hospital actually live. So 90% dead. And then the 10% that do live, they're not always fully functional. Right? So our brain needs oxygen. If you go even about 4 minutes without oxygen to your brain, you'll begin to sustain, permanent brain damage, which can affect your body and your mind in different ways. And if it goes too far, then it's really not recoverable. And the way that your brain gets oxygen is through blood flow. And when your heart stops, that blood flow stops. And so when they do CPR, if they do it well, they're getting blood flow to your brain is almost as well as your heart would, and certainly enough to allow you to maintain, who you are and all of those things. If you don't do it well, then you're still getting that lack of oxygen. So I want to thank people for knowing how to do CPR and doing it well. I want to thank those that got there, because CPR, it's basically like it keeps you alive for a while, okay? But it's not the end all. Okay? Without the shocking of the heart to get it back, eventually people are going to tire out, and eventually you're going to die. And so there's equipment that requires training. There's other things that need to be done to keep a person alive. And so I want to thank the people in the EMT. They're the middle part of that. Okay, so you have the first responders. Well, they are first responders. So you have the bystanders that are helping with the CPR. Then you have your first responders, who's your firemen and your ambulance drivers and all of them. And then after that, there's that gets you to the hospital alive. And then there's a whole lot of stuff that happens in the hospital with all your nurses and your doctors and everything else to assure that someone will actually live. And so, specifically, I wanted to thank, my bystanders, Dean Kidd and Alan Stanger and Sean Mullins. Sean couldn't be here tonight for family reasons. And then Isaac. Those are the four main ones. But there were others too. Other people helping to move people out of the way and things of that nature, and to help where they could. And so I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for the the EMTs and the firefighters. Hopefully I'm not missing anybody's names here, but we had Sean Manuel and Calvin Kearns from the fire department. And our ambulance people were Lewis Walters, Landon Ford, and Christina Booz. And then there was Todd Jones. And so I just wanted to make sure I specifically, mentioned their names. And then everybody else that helped with that, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. I'd be dead, And my family would be without a husband and without a father. My patients would be without their surgeon. I guess they would probably find another one, but I've helped a lot of people in my life, and all of the good that I will do in my life, because I was committed to that before, but even more so now. All of that good will now happen, okay? And it'll happen because of these people, the people that that took the time to learn ahead of time, and actually knew how to act and didn't freeze and did it. And so I'm grateful to be here. The dying process really isn't that bad. It was actually pretty smooth. I mean, I just kind of like went out and was just kind of blacked out there, and there's no pain. It was just done. It was actually the coming back that's the hard part, because they say if you're not breaking ribs when you're doing CPR, you're not doing a good job, and so that's very real, and being shocked is painful, and so I was awake for 2 of the shocks, maybe 3 of them, so I'm aware of all these things, that had happened, as well as many other things, and I'd be happy to talk about that with anybody if they really want to know. But death is peaceful. So those of you who have lost people before, it's not really something to fear. So I did want to say that. And then I'd like to just make sure I talk a little bit about the Lord, because too many things lined up for me to be alive, where I can't deny that there was a higher power involved in aligning things. So just, a couple of those things I'll just say briefly here. One was Isaac getting that training, and Liz and I supported him because we felt, inspired to do that. Then right after I went down, so the next 3 runners all knew how to do CPR and were, brave and kind enough to actually go and help. There's a device they put on me. It basically puts a board behind your back, and it straps a lawnmower to your chest, and then just does CPR on you. They call it the Lucas device. there's only 2 of them in this area, and for whatever reason, the EMTs thought, well, we better just throw that on the rig, that they happened to take among all the rigs that it could have been on. It happened to be on the one that came to me, and then that helped out, and I received, a blessing from a church leader and my dad that helped, and just, many, many, many things where I can see the hand of the Lord in it, for sure. And so, there's a scripture for those of you who are familiar with the Bible in the New Testament, in John chapter 11, where Jesus Christ is going to help one of his buddies. And in verses 3 and 4, it says, "Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. When Jesus heard that, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby." And so this was about Lazarus, for those of you who are familiar with Bible stories. And so I think in my own mind, that this is my little Lazarus story. I love the Lord. I know he loves me. And I needed to die so that I could help people, right? So that I could teach, so that I could encourage. And I don't mind that. That was all right, Not saying I want to do it again, but I don't mind. So there's a lot of good that can come from bad things, and I would say, part of my message would be to consider that anytime that you feel like you're facing something that is serious or too hard or too much, to handle, that there's reasons behind all these things, and you can take something that is bad and you can do a lot of good with it. So I do want to encourage everyone to do that. And with that in mind, a big focus this next coming year, and a big focus of mine, is going to be helping people understand the importance of CPR, and then help them to understand that it really does, make a difference in saving people and in allowing them to be functional. I mean, I'm a surgeon. I took a week off of work, and then I did 40% time, and then full-time again, 40% time for 1 week, and then back to full-time work. I've been going. And I've been operating and taking care of people, and, I've got my mind and my body and my skills, and it is in large part because of the early, well-done CPR. And so I do want to encourage people to do that. I think Jan's going to talk a little bit more about that. But again, thank you guys for everything that you did. Thank you for saving my life. Yeah, go ahead and stand. Yeah, why not? Yeah. So, yep.
Stay up here.
Of course.
We have a gift for you.
Yeah.
This is a special blanket that has every one of our race posters. And I'd like to drape it around you
Oh, sure. Yeah.
to symbolize the way in which our race and our incredible medical team led by Lynn Ulstead is here strives to take the best care of all of our runners, and never was that more on display than what happened, not just with our first responders who were runners, but with the medical team that responded. And so you keep this around you if you want, but it is our gift. So, as Rafael has mentioned, we have a call to action with what happened. We see this as an incredible opportunity to make our race a standard bearer of one that encourages all of its runners to be able to do what Alan and Dean and Sean did, and Isaac. So we don't know what that looks like yet. We just have the 30-foot view that our side campaign for this entire coming year is going to be to try to get as many of our runners to be able to do that. We think it will be a model in the running industry. We're super excited about that. And so, after the program, we want to make sure we get pictures of all you guys, because this is, I mean, I was saying I couldn't have Hollywood scripted a better reunion story than to reunite the man whose life was saved by the people who did it. We don't want to miss that.